Hey, what's up? This is Patrick. Welcome to episode 30 of the Double ETF podcast, Everything Except the Football. I hope you guys are doing great. Today, I talk with Aaron Conn, music journalist, podcaster, fellow Name That Tune player. It was an interesting conversation. We had the chance to talk about something else than music. And we covered a few interesting topics, and I hope you guys enjoy. Forgot to mention, this will be a two-part episode. Part 2 with the quick and quirky questions will be ready in a few days. So if you want to drop us a line, you can do so on Twitter at EETFpod. You can drop us an email at eetfpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to be part of the awesome club and join Carly, Kevin, Josh, Nick, Ambags, Carly again, Hector, Tom, Tony Greathouse, and RJ, you can do so at paypal.me/EETFpod. That would be fantastic, and thank you in advance. Or you can leave a review on iTunes and wherever you listen to your podcasts. That would also be fantastic. So I dropped this episode a few weeks in advance because tomorrow, Saturday, October 22nd, is Aaron's 30th birthday. So happy birthday. All right. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and thanks. All right. So with me today, I have the pleasure of having on the show Aaron Conn. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Patrick.
Oh, my pleasure. So we know each other from the Name That Tune weekly quiz, but still, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
My name is Aaron. I'm from South Jersey, specifically Gloucester Township, Camden County area. For job, I work at Goodwill in their e-commerce department. So it works. It's like we list things that go up on sale. It's kind of like the eBay version of Goodwill, which I know doesn't. I mean, some people associate, and it is a great opportunity for me to give them a plug because the sad truth is that nobody really knows about shopgoodwill.com, which is where we post our things on there. And people go on there and they pay good money for stuff like jewelry, fashion, and all sorts of collectibles. We've gotten a lot of neat stuff through them. So I've been working there since January 2018. And I was at first doing the fashion. And once that became a little bit too much, I was switched over to the jewelry.
You're not into fashion?
No, it was a whole thing with trying to increase. I asked for an extra hour and they wanted me to do more fashion. And then once they saw that this was going to be a problem for me, they just went, okay, we're going to switch you over to the jewelry.
Okay.
And I went, all right. And then once I did the jewelry, it was so much easier. It is so much easier now. And there's some stuff that comes in. And the things I've always been doing is listing the vinyl records that come in.
That falls into your, into your wheelhouse. Wow. Sorry. Yeah. Sunday night.
Yeah, that's what I do for pay. On the side, I have been writing for Pop Culture Beast after finding out about it through the Rock Solid podcast, hosted by Pat Francis, who we both know because of Name That Tune.
Friend of the show. Former guest.
And I also have my own podcast, which I started in 2019, which is called Albums Uncovered. It's a revival of a show, one of the two shows that I did while in college. Huh? I went to college in King's College, Wilkes-Barre, PA, and that was one of the shows that I did there. So I revived it after years and years of being with the Rock Solid community on Twitter, finally getting to pick my own topic for Rock Solid, which was a show on the Muppets, and just seeing the reception to it, and seeing that the money was coming in, I decided to go back to see if I could try and make a podcast. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. On my free time, I like to write a lot about music, pop culture. I collect records. I like anything in pop culture or general. That's about it about me. So
okay. So you mentioned that you live in New Jersey. But you mentioned going to college in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So are you from New Jersey originally?
Yes, I've always lived in New Jersey.
Okay. All right. So in Pennsylvania, what did you study?
I majored in mass communications, which is, it's funny how I got the writing job for Pop Culture Beast. It had to do with Rock Solid, but how I got to Rock Solid is a whole other story that we can tell later in the podcast. But I mean, that's when I went into college, I knew that, even now, journalism is not in demand like it used to be. Nobody's writing for the newspaper anymore. I mean, if you do come across a job like that, then it's just very rare to find something like that or just to make any money out of it. But I mean, from my standpoint, I couldn't find anything else that I was interested in. And I think the thing with me is that I think what's most important for me, and I think that most of your guests have all said this about in terms of working in a job, I need to be happy.
Yes.
I need to be happy in the position that I'm in because I just can't. It has to have some sort of interest level for me, or I'm not going to be happy in it.
No, yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it turns into a prison sentence. Even if you're paid for it, it becomes a hell really fast. And so mass communication and journalism was always your first priority when it comes to a career, or did you have a plan B? Or
no, it's just as far as when you're younger, you start to think of like the typical jobs that people make. But I think it was after getting into music and knowing that I liked writing, as far as writing about myself, creative writing, which I don't do too much of, but I just liked writing and I liked music. So I just put the two together. And then I just found that there is a thing called music journalism. And the thing that, I already knew about it already, but I think we'll talk about how I got all into music and as to where I am now. But what really got the wheels turning for wanting to be a journalist was after seeing Almost Famous.
Okay.
And I was 14 when I saw it. My mom watched it with me with her boyfriend. The movie was rated R, but my mom decided, even in the years between the movie being released and whenever I saw it, which would have been 2006, I was always getting people saying, "You're like the kid in Almost Famous. You're like the kid in Almost Famous." And I'm thinking, okay, well, I haven't seen it because, I can't. Mom strict on, I can't see PG-13 until I'm 13 or until I'm 17. Unless she previews it, then, she'll be okay with it. But I think she came to realize that you should watch this movie. So she previewed it, and we watched it one night in 2006. And it was just so inspiring. And I wanted to get started right then and there. But I did a whole podcast on that movie with Josh Fitzgerald for the movie's 20th anniversary last year. And one of the topics that we talked about with that movie is that, it's a fictional account. It is a bit glamorized account of what being on the road is like. But it is just surprising to be hearing in these documentaries how easy it was to get to these musicians. And nowadays, like these big name artists are probably it takes levels and levels of management to get through them.
Yeah.
So,
PR agencies and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned music a few minutes ago. Can you play any instruments?
I do play a bit of bass guitar. I only had lessons during my senior year in high school, just as something to do because there really wasn't anything going on during my 12th grade. And then that was it. That was that was my lessons. And I went ahead and just kept in practice through tablature, which I know is going to make most musicians out there cringe that that I just read tablature. But I just want to know how to play an instrument. And I tried earlier before that, see if I could play guitar once I got into the whole music. But I think it turned out that I just didn't have the patience, having ADHD. I just did not have the patience for guitar. So when my mom was suggesting to me to do something, just as a way to get out or just get myself out there, I just went, all right, I'm going to play an instrument, then I'll just pick bass because I already tried guitar before. So, I have it sitting right over there, but I played it every now and then. I don't even consider myself too much of a musician, but I do play a bit.
All right. Okay. You mentioned college earlier. What did you think of your college experience as a whole?
I think it was good for me. I think it helped me out a lot with some things. And I had to meet some neat people here and there. I think it got me to some opportunities that will help me out later in life, as far as with podcasts, especially. Just having those connections and just getting to know all those different people. And with me having gone to a place that's 2 or 3 hours away, I mean, it's very hard to stay in touch with all those people, though there are a few people that do live in the area who I haven't gotten, to be honest, I haven't seen one of them in a while, but, I mean, I still get in touch with them. I mean, not as much as I used to when I was in college, but I mean, there's still some people that, I'm happy to have known or have that experience. And I think it did help me with a couple of things, both in my career and just both in just getting to know people and being part of that whole social dynamic or whatever. So.
Yeah, it can be, you learn how to live with other people pretty much,
And I already got that from camp. And there were some things that happened in camp and their travel program that I think I had an upper hand with that, because some people, when they go to college, that's their first time being away.
Mm-hmm.
If they haven't been to camp or anything else. For me, I was already used to it.
Okay.
But there are some things, some lessons in here and there that I realized that there were some things that happened in camper travel that led into things that I probably should have known going into college, as far as with the roommate situation, that I just never really got out too much in college to be finding any actual friends to room with. And whenever I would ask them to room, it would already be too late.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized that, I'm just not good. I'm not good with staying with any roommate. And I should have known that, because the only person that there was only one person that I was okay with rooming with during the travel program. And the people I was with on the second half of the travel program, it was like I was put with a different one every time. I mean, it was nothing against them. It was just that there was like one thing keeping us together. So you're really getting like some life lessons there if you go to camp.
Sometimes it's not a good match, it's nothing against the other person, But what's that travel program you mentioned? I guess we don't have that here. I don't know what that is.
Well, it's a part of the camp that I went to, and that's a big part of what I want to talk about, because it did have a big part of my life.
Okay.
The camp that I went to was called Summit Camp. It's still out there. It's in Hansdale, PA. It's a camp for children that are on the spectrum, special needs, whether it be an IEP, which is over here in the States is the equivalent of an IEP is, I think it stands for Individual Education Program. So it's not a physical thing. It's just something that a person carries with them throughout grade school that entitles them to more time on tests, 2 teachers in the classroom. That's what it is.
Okay.
But with Summit, they would take in, and they still take in, any kids that would meet with the qualifications that they're on the spectrum, have ADHD, social anxiety, anxiety itself, an IEP. And I just met a whole slew of these people. Like, some of them would be on the very low functioning side. They would be on, like, in their own world. They want to communicate with anybody else, or a majority of the bunk. And then there are the other people that you would not even expect that they would have anything. And those would tend to be the ones who would be a little bit more on the, lack of a better term, the mental side. They would have like outbursts, or they would probably be the ones, like, if they were outside of camp, that I know a couple that have been into the whole smoking and drinking underage thing. So that's where, like, there have been a couple of people that have been there thinking, why are they here? it's just like, and I think it gave me like sort of like I can almost detect it like in almost anybody now when I see, like, I know the mannerisms of somebody who's on the spectrum.
Okay.
Or just from going there, I think, and just seeing, like, there's like a whole way of telling how somebody is on the spectrum, or maybe a little bit anxious.
Okay.
And I went there from 2004 to 2008, and then the travel program that I mentioned, that's a separate thing that they do. It's the same idea. They take whatever people that they would accept for the camp, and it's basically you just go around the world, around the country. And for me, the travel program, I was supposed to go to camp in 2009, that last year, but there were a number of changes up. The camp is very expensive, for one thing. My mom was able to afford it, but there are some people who pay good money to go to Summit.
Okay.
So in 2009, a bunch of the people that I knew they were done. They weren't going to go back. And I'm 17 at this time. And the maximum age you got to be for travel, I think camp, I think is around maybe like 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that was going to be my last year no matter what. So, but there were some changes happening. The head counselor passed away, but he wasn't, had he not died, he was already feeling sick already. So they already had a replacement in mind. So once I was called by a friend that the head counselor had passed, I just realized that, okay, and he told me that he was going to go on travel.
Mm.
And I knew a former counselor and a couple of other people who were going to go on travel. And then I asked, can I see a whole roster of the people who are going to be on in camp and travel? And more of the people I knew were going on travel. So I decided, okay, I won't go to camp for 2000. I'll just go on travel. So a trip when we went to Colorado, and we had an experience there that's kind of similar. That's to what happened last year with the whole lockdown. That was the year of the swine flu.
Okay.
One person got sick, and we were quarantined in the University of Colorado, which was not great. The beds there were awful. I mean, they kept us entertained, and I mean, there was a discussion if the trip would be canceled or not, but everybody decided we're going to go forward, and there were some people who decided to leave because of what happened. They didn't think that the trip should go on, but we kept going on throughout Colorado, and mostly everything stayed the same. I mean, we were going to fly back to Colorado. I'm kind of glad the way it ended up. We went around Colorado, and then we went to Arizona. It ended in Las Vegas, and then the people who stayed, who were going to be on the second trip, we spent a week in L.A. and went to a Paramount, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a couple of other places, and then the second trip was San Diego, Hawaii, and we went to San Francisco, and then flew back over to Delaware.
Wow! And how long was that trip total?
I would say it was about like 40 days or so in total.
Wow, nice. And which city was your favorite out of all those?
I did really like staying in LA for a week. Just all the sites there, and being on the Paramount lot was pretty cool too, because just seeing that this is the place where all these movies have been shot. And I remember during the tour, I think the tour guides asked us if any of us what our favorite movie was, and I made it known that I said that my favorite movie is The Godfather, which Paramount. It was shot on Paramount, and the tour guide said, somebody say that they like The Godfather? Yeah, I did. And they pointed out this restaurant. They said, oh, that's the scene where Michael has his dinner with Sollozzo and the police chief.
Yeah.
And I went,
nice.
I mean, it looked completely different, but I was just like, oh, wow. And just seeing all these locations. I mean, there would be like little placards on there that these movies were filmed in here. But yeah, that was one of the cool things I got to see there. And then the other thing that was happening there, I saw that they had a bulletin, and I took the online bulletin. And one of the things that they noticed there that was that people you may see on the lot, and one of the people there was Joel McHale. He wasn't there on the set that day, but it did mention that he was there filming for his new show, Community.
Yeah.
And I knew him from The Soup, and I knew that he was on this new show, and I thought, oh, wow, that's cool. I mean, we were told if we do see a famous person, I mean, they tried to tell us, just kind of funny to be telling a bunch of kids who are some more on the spectrum than others. Yeah, if you see somebody, don't say, well, who's that? Just like, no, we'll point out if we see somebody, and then, we'll introduce you to them. So if we had ran into any of the community stars, which I mean, at that point, I wouldn't have known, maybe with the exception of maybe Chevy Chase and Joel, and maybe even Nicole Brown, because she was on Drake and Josh prior to that. So, yeah, that was a cool experience. And then Community aired, and that's one of the few shows that I can say I watched from day one until it ended. And I had no intentions of it, or saw it becoming this, this cult classic that it is now, and now revered as one of the best shows ever. I was just watching it because Joel McHale was in it. And another funny thing that happened during that, when we were in Paramount, I forget what it was. They were talking about the other things that were happening there. Like, they said, we're going to, they said that, they were talking about ownership of things. They talked about things like Desilu, that it was Lucille Ball and, her husband who had Desilu. And they tried explaining these things like, so-and-so owns this, so owns that. And then I remember it ending with, and Disney, they own the world. And we all had a good laugh about that. And some of the other campers there were like, "What was that? What was that?" No, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Nice. You mentioned, so college was in Pennsylvania. Was there something specific that made you choose that college, or it just happened that way?
Well, Kings is not too far from where Summit is, so I just decided I'll just go there, because when looking into colleges, I really did not want to think about going into college. Yeah, that's one of my anxieties, is that just looking to the future and the unknown. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to be thinking about college. Well, I kind of do, because, you get started when it's 11th grade. All right. When we go to college. So we made a couple of visits and, the other places that we went to were nice, but we looked at their special ed programs. I mean, that was the other thing that we had. Not only did we have to go to the orientation, but then, no, that's not it. We got to go to the special ed thing.
Okay.
We got to go to that one too. And, being at King's, I already felt like a sense of comfort being there and just felt like, I'll just settle on this. I think I really didn't have any preference. It didn't really matter to me, but I just felt like, I liked it before. Once my mom showed me I think she had like a whole book of like all the colleges that had disability services for special ed. And I just went, which one's closest to camp? And she said, well, King's College is, okay, then I'm going to stop thinking about it. I'm going to go there. And it was almost like a joke and not so much a joke. But then once I went there, I went, all right, I can see myself going here.
Yeah, that's all it takes sometimes.
It's a Catholic college. They're really, really nice people there. One of the surreal things that I always loved being there was that, just the few times that I was on campus prior to being a student there was just like the random interactions, like even the strangers would even say hello to you. Or I remember seeing like teachers saying hello to, there were priests like, hey, how you doing there, Father? Just like, it was just very surreal to be seeing that and just like, this is all happening in a college. And even though I was not brought up Catholic, I am of two religious backgrounds, but I just felt comfortable being there. So that's what made me decide to go to King's.
That makes sense. And, going to college is a huge step. So if you can find somewhere that you're comfortable going to, so that's perfect, You also mentioned being on the spectrum a few minutes ago. I admit I know nothing about how it works. Is there a scale, like a severe or, light or something?
Oh, not really. The way I think the best way to put it, there's been other names for it. When I was I think it was like 4 or 5 years old when I was tested, my mom just started to notice that I wasn't picking up on things like other kids were. And she decided to have me tested and found out that, pretty sure that I probably had ADHD, anxiety, social anxiety, and that my mom has no memory of it. But I remember her telling this to me. So she told me that whoever was testing me that day just said, if it were any worse, I would say it's Asperger's.
Okay.
And that's commonly what it's known. I didn't even know what Asperger's was until I went to camp. I just thought, well, what's that? And then I found out that it's a form of autism. And then just hearing the name that I'm like, so wait, I have autism? I was just like so confused about the whole thing. And it's like, well, my mom says, well, it's kind of dated now. Nobody says that. Some people may use it. It's really kind of a really loose term. I think there's people who are high functioning and then people who are just lower functioning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the easiest way to sum it up. With me, I think I'd be definitely high functioning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to do some things that other people on the spectrum can't. I still have some issues as far as with picking up on social cues, just trying to make a conversation, eye contact, and other things. But there really isn't too much of a scale. I just say like high functioning and low functioning. And for me, I would probably I'd definitely be high functioning.
Okay. And if you want to deal, quote unquote, with the things that you mentioned, are there techniques or some mental shortcuts that can help you deal with those situations? Or you just avoid potential problems or?
Well, there's things that, if you're talking about like things to overcome, like making new friends. I was in like social skills groups for a lot during I think for elementary school and then again for high school, a bunch of other people who also had hard times with making friends. Just exposure to things that I'm anxious about or have some anxieties about can also help. I have ways of calming myself down. For me in school, I think where my anxiety was at, we're talking about two different things here. I think one of the things that does happen to somebody on the spectrum is that they do have anxiety. There can be people that do have anxiety, but they're not on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. With me, it's both social anxiety and anxiety. And I think my anxiety was at its worst when I was in middle school. And it makes sense because the age range there was 11 to 14. And that's when, you're becoming a teenager, you're going through puberty, hormones. And I think that was just, I think that I may have gotten a little bit oversensitive and by the time I was in high school, it was like, it came to the point where I had to tell I felt like before the classes even started, I felt comfortable with just telling the teachers up front that, worst case scenario, just so you know, I have anxiety.
Okay.
Like if it came to the point where I got too choked up to even speak. But by the time I was in high school, it kind of all calmed down. And I don't know if that had to do with, staff in high school were a little more friendlier, or maybe it's just because I grew up that I just got a little better at it. But yeah, just any exposure. Camp helped me, obviously, in some ways. But even after all the therapies and after everything that I've been doing, I'm still here at home. But it's not too weird. But nowadays it's not too weird for people of my age to say that they still live at home because of money or whatever. But in my case, it's more so because some anxieties and just if I have to be really honest, laziness, just not wanting to do, like, no, I don't want to have to do all that work for whatever it is. And,
Right.
So
moving is a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame you.
Well, I'm already asking my uncle for some help. So, and finding a place, I don't know what's going to happen there. So that's one of the things that I have going on. But yeah, just exposure, just trying to get, I still have some of the same anxieties. I still have, there's really no cure. There's just ways to make it better.
Yeah.
And not as bad. And there's other things that I picked up, I guess, being on the spectrum. Some of them I'm happy about, some of them not so much. Just having any anxiety, is just no fun. But one of the things that I am glad that I am sensitive to, people on the spectrum tend to be very sensitive to sound.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I'm in the movie theaters, concerts especially, I've always been noise sensitive. I have a memory of going with my parents to go see, remember it's like the final act of, went to see Star Trek Insurrection with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it must have been like, it's crazy with the brain, what I can remember. Like, and it was like the last scene in the movie, everything's getting like all action packed, and it was very, very loud in the theater. And so my dad just took his hands and just covered my ears for the entire act. It was that loud for me. And I still get the same way. I still can't be in places with, that have, where they turn up the volume or what. So concerts and movies, I wear earplugs. And I think that more people are seeing that, okay, yeah, it makes sense to go to a concert and you wear earplugs. But can you even, I would always get asked, can you hear what's going on in the movie? Yeah. Yeah, I can. There's probably like the occasional movie where it's not like especially action packed. I can remember earlier this year seeing the Sparks Brothers documentary. That was not too loud.
Okay.
And I just went, I don't think I need my earplugs on. It was just, it was just surprisingly kind of just not that loud. I don't get it. But yeah, typically I do wear earplugs. So the reason why I'm glad I have that is because my hearing is very important to me.
Mm-hmm, sure.
So, so now I know like how much is too much, which I'm glad that I have, which some people, they don't know. And once their hearing's done, they're done.
Yes.
So I'm glad. That's one of the things I'm glad that I picked up on.
Yeah, I have tinnitus just from a stupid thing I did when I was like 9 or 10. So, and it's never going away. So I get what you mean. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And wearing earplugs at a concert it's just common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So you mentioned, I guess there could be things like also relaxation techniques maybe, or breathing exercises, or maybe medication in some cases that could help with anxiety in general.
Yeah, that's helped me a lot. I've come to learn more about them after finding out about another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is Dr. John Sarno.
Mm-hmm. It was the next item on my list.
Okay, well, I'll get into how that all got started. It was my last semester, like before my last semester at King's, I started getting this from almost out of nowhere, just like this started growing like this back, neck, and shoulder pain, and it would just not go away. I tried to take painkillers, it wouldn't go away. It just kept going and going. So my mom took me to acupuncture, and that helped a little bit, but the pain was still there. And in the first week or two of my last semester, I was in pain. I was going over to the nurse, and they gave me even twice the amount of usual Tylenol just to make it go away. I was told to put ice on it, put heat on it. Nothing was helping me. It was just very persistent. And then finally I went to go to see a chiropractor And then he helped me out, and that made a majority of the pain go away. And it was after doing a retreat, which I've just felt I met so many people on that retreat associated with the college's church that, some of the pain kind of dissipated, but then it kind of came back. So I kept going to the chiropractor. And then when going back home, the chiropractor I went to there, they wanted to get an x-ray on me. And they got an x-ray on me and saw that I had a bit of a scoliosis curve.
Okay.
So they said, all right, we're going to put you on this program. You're going to come here like 3 times a week and then 2 times a week and then 1 time. And then, it did get better. But then not too long after that, I got a job at a pharmacy. I was working with the job coach after graduating from college and trying to help me get a job. And the job at this pharmacy was very stressful. I mean, I'm not used to dealing with people. I was a cashier there, so dealing with other people really got me all flared up. And I kept having the pains and what have you. And I also did physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It helped for a while, and then the pain would come back. And then it's just, I tried almost everything and nothing. I had a couple of trigger point injections, which already hurt to get them put in there, but then there was some relief, and then the pain would come back. And it just got to the point where, there was a lot of other things happening, which I did try and keep this short, but I was going through a lot of anxieties and a lot of things during this, and during this time, my back, neck, and shoulders were like hurting.
Turned into a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it was one day when I was looking at yoga for chronic back pain that I looked on YouTube, and I was looking at all the results, and I found somebody with the title of a video, how they cured their pain. And I just went, okay, I'll watch this. And then after that, I watched that, and I saw like a whole other slew of videos where people were all talking about the same person named Dr. John Sarno. And this guy said that he just read this book and his pain went away. And I looked up I was watching other videos, and I looked up things on Google. And the first thing that came to my mind when I heard about this was like, please let this be something real. Don't let this be like a scam or anything. And then I found out, okay, who's Dr. John Sarno? He was a doctor. At that time he was still alive. He passed in 2017, but he was a doctor that believed that repressed emotions can lead to chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
And when people hear about this, that their pain is caused by repressed emotion, they do not accept this very well. There's been stories of people when they read one of his books, Healing Back Pain. I think I've heard stories of people like throwing the book across the room, going, this is not real. It's not emotionally caused. But with me having been through almost everything with my anxiety, I just went, this makes sense for me, because I used to get like dizzy spells when I was in, I started having heart palpitations when I was in 9th grade, and I was also having dizzy spells. Turned out that, my heart was beating a little bit faster, so I was put on meds for that. But the dizziness, they put things on me, they could find nothing. And as far as the scoliosis thing, it might be there, but even the doctors who gave me the trigger point injections were saying that small curve shouldn't be giving you that much pain. So, that's what Dr. Sarno's all about. So I just read a couple pages of one of his books, and I felt the pain go away already. And I'm just thinking, wow. Then I saw the 2020 report that John Stossel did, I think like in 1999. The guy's gotten some attention here and there. People like Howard Stern have all been praising him. Howard Stern really, really liked Sarno. He really thought highly of him. He credits him to like solving a bunch of his back pains. And they were good friends up until Dr. Sarno passed. A couple of other celebrities here and there I've mentioned about Dr. Sarno. So I just thought, okay, well, what do I do? I think this is me. I think I fit the type of somebody who has this pain, which he calls which Dr. Sarno called TMS, tension myositis syndrome, or it's also being known as the mind-body syndrome. So I just thought, okay, well, what can I do here? Is there a doctor to see? Maybe even, Sarno himself had already been retired since 2012, but there were people working in the same field as him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, can I go see them? Well, yeah, they're all over. There's ones in North Jersey if I wanted to go all the way up there. All right, do they cover it? Is medical insurance covered by it? No. The medical community do not look at Dr. Sarno and his work very nicely. They think that he was accused of being, lack of a better term, a quack, that he was just, speaking nonsense, and that the recommendation is that you just do physical therapy and get exercise and you'll feel better. But there's a bunch of people where it doesn't get better for them. And Dr. Sarno would get very frustrated with this and just think you're not getting to the cause, which is emotions. So,
yeah, I mean, that's not quackish. I mean, it's been, I'm not going to say it's been known, but it's been a topic for, since decades. Pain, like emotional pain being linked to physical pain, that's okay. But yeah, please continue.
So over the years, I've done a couple of programs here and there, and even then, I'm still having some pains. But I mean, they're not as severe as they were during when I was in college and when I was in the job at the pharmacy. I mean, it comes and goes. I mean, there's some days where I feel it and some days where I don't. I mean, I still feel like, I mean, sometimes it moves. If it moves to another location, like I may feel pain in my back one time and then go like in my lower back. A few days ago, I felt like a really pain over here and just like it was so stubborn, and now it's kind of dissipated now. So it's just like if it moves from one location to another, it's more than likely TMS.
Okay.
So I mean, there's Facebook groups out there that have been helpful. I've done a couple programs that don't require, I did pay for a few of them. I did pay for one person for a while, and I learned some relaxation techniques from that. Also, the Pain Psychology Center with Howard Schubiner and Alan Gordon, who are over in California. Or Dr. Schubiner's in Michigan. And just by coincidence, I was looking on Facebook and I saw, oh, wow, my dad's cousin knows Dr. Schubiner because she's a doctor too. So she said, do you want me to introduce him to you? And I went, yeah, could you have him call me? And he recommended me to the Pain Psychology Center. I got a therapist there, but again, it's not cheap.
And it's not covered.
It's not covered, but I was able to, I was working at that's when I started working at Goodwill. So, I've been mostly managing it myself. I've been reading books here and there and just trying to get I think the other thing that just helps is that just take action in some of the stuff that you're doing, that you want to do, or you're having anxieties in, which I have done. But, yeah, I'm still not, I don't know if anybody can be completely healed, but I think compared to the time when I did find out about Dr. Sarno compared to now, I think now there's more awareness. There's even an app for like, I think it's called Curable, where people can go ahead and just, they listen to lectures, or you can go on YouTube and there's a whole lecture that Dr. Sarno gave. And I think it was like the thing that he would do is that he would examine people and then say, okay, if they have TMS or not. And then if they did, then he would ask them to come to his lectures, and he would talk about how their pain isn't real and that their brain is making it. And then those people who went to the lessons, they would either feel better. If they didn't, then they would be more severe cases where they may have to be with Dr. Sarno for a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And you can watch one of his lectures. There's one, but I think it's like what he would do. I don't think any of his, parts of his lectures were recorded, the things that he would teach, but there is a full one, but I'm pretty sure that the people I think it was all like set up. I think it was all just like actors just asking the questions. But even then, it watching that really helped. There's a bunch of kind of not brand, but they're kind of similar to TED Talks of just people talking about their pain and what have you. And those have helped too. There's some apps there that there was something on the Today Show a couple years ago where Savannah and Hoda went ahead and they had their HRV measured, which measured how stressed they were. So you can measure your stress now just by putting your finger over the phone of the camera lens where the light is, and it'll take your scan. I don't know how. I think it's pretty accurate, but I'm sure there are other things that can measure that a little bit better and more accurately. But yeah, that's what Dr. Sarno and TMS is all about. I've made it a point to just keep going on about it. I've mentioned him, I don't know how many times over to the other family. When I first told my uncle's my dad's older brother, and I've gone to him for almost he's been another guy to go to ever since my dad passed. So I just told him about it, and he's a doctor himself. He's a gastroenterologist, and he thought, oh yeah, well that's good if it's helping you. He seemed open to it. And then a couple years later, I always mentioned about Dr. Sarno here and there. I remember one time we were seeing my sister in her last play. He said, and I got to tell you, I had a patient who came in, and when I asked them about their pain, they said that they read Dr. Sarno, and It's just like, oh my goodness, it's not just me talking about it, it's my uncle's agents now. So yeah, there's been more recognition for it. There are a couple of movies that have been made about it. There's one, All the Rage, which is a guy making a film about Dr. Sarno along with his own pain. I think you can stream that on Canopy. I don't know if they have it over there in Canada or elsewhere. But Canopy is a streaming service that only requires a library card.
All the Rage.
Yeah, All the Rage is the name of the movie. I can't remember the name of the director right now, but he's the one who directs it. And Howard Stern's in it, Larry David. But they're in it very briefly, but they show them to give the point that these were people that all had pain at one point. Even the guy who did the 2020 report, John Stossel, he was interviewed in the movie, and he says that even to this day, people keep telling him that 2020 report on Dr. Sarno really helped them. But it's like still that nobody wants to like admit that this guy's
that it's working,
that it's right. I mean, when I first told my mom about this, I mean, she was like, "Well, I'm happy, Aaron," but I mean, with her being in Social Security, she said, "I mean, that's great, but I mean, do you know how much this is going to affect me? Do you know how much this is going to affect my clients?" I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I can see that, but I mean, it's helping me, but." But yeah, I mean, if people just realize, I mean, people are maybe too stubborn to think and acknowledge that it is in the mind. But if anybody has like any sort of pain, even like right now, I would recommend to just look up Dr. Sarno on YouTube, watch the 2020 report. It's still good, even though it's some 20 years old, and there's some video glitches in there too. But it is a good video, although it's a bit funny to watch it afterwards because the person who was the helm for 2020 presenting the videos was Barbara Walters, and it was right after the whole report airs, and Barbara Walters goes, "Well, if I have pain, that's good if it helps them, but for me, I just do stretches or whatever," and like she like negated everything that was just in the report.
Yeah.
It's just
whoops, that's not ideal. Well, yeah, I mean, one of the main things that we can take away from that is the mind is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really ignore connections between, psychological trauma and physical pain. There has to be a link at some point. So, all right. Okay. So good. That's Dr. John Sarno, Sarno.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So if we can track back to music, what would be your top 3 bands? I know it's a super open question, but...
No, I have an answer for this. I would say the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Who.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's very cliche to say the Beatles are my favorite band, but they are. And I have the stories and proof to show that. Case in point, I met Paul McCartney when I was 10 years old.
Yes, that's true.
So, and then there's some people, I mean, this is by chance. I mean, I won't go too far as to who it is, but it's somebody on my dad's side of the family that had Johnny Yoko as clients back in the day.
Okay.
And that helped me get at least an email interview with Yoko.
Oh, nice.
Which, I mean, my questions weren't, I mean, I wish I had probably listened to some of her music prior to that. I mean, aside from the music the albums that she made with John, which at that point I only listened to Double Fantasy and Milk and Honey. I hadn't heard Sometime in New York City, which is another one of theirs where it's back and forth between their songs. But I mean, even now, I mean, just years later, that the fact that she said yes, and that, was just for me, 16-year-old 10th grader who just wanted to do a report for the high school newspaper.
That's a pretty good report.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So this is a new question. What would be your 3 hot takes when it comes to music?
Well, I think that, we can go back to Yoko here. I think Yoko Ono is underappreciated.
All right.
I think that with the Beatles and the rumors, I mean, even not in the Beatles, I mean, even in their post careers with Wings and what have you, I think it's come to the point with Beatles rumors, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. Because some of it's come to the point where some of it has been acknowledged as fact. And Paul said a few years ago in GQ magazine, I can remember that Paul saying it's coming to the point where he doesn't even remember if some of the things are real or not. And the magazine gave him an example. There's the story that goes around about when they were in Hamburg And that's when sort of a humorous story that they told them. They said, well, there's this rumor that's going around that's been going on for years. I had even heard it that when they were in Hamburg, that's when George lost his virginity.
Okay.
And that they were apparently in the room when it happened.
Okay.
And then Paul said, yeah, I mean, in that regard, he said, yeah, that might be right. I mean, he can't really remember because it's been so many years ago.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of frightening that some of these things are becoming fact. And as far as with Yoko, I think that, I mean, whatever she did with John's estate or whatever, I mean, I just want to look at I think she's done more good than bad. I think that her music, I mean, it is an acquired taste, but I think she really helped pave the way for like the quirky kind of independent female artist that we now see in I mean, another person that's just like her that doesn't get too much recognition is Lenny Lovitch. She had a couple of success. I mean, bigger name, at least not in the United States, unfortunately, but Kate Bush had great success doing almost the same thing. I mean, Laurie Anderson, I mean, I mean, she kind of paved the way for that quirky female kind of artist. And I think that people just, just listen to some of her music because, I mean, some of it is a bit avant-garde and out there, but I mean, she has written several decent pop tunes.
All right.
And a couple of people have covered them. I mean, there's Walking on Thin Ice. And one of my personal favorites by her is Death of Samantha, which is a song that she wrote about. It was written on the night that election night of 1972. It was a song that she felt about how she was feeling after she and John were at a party on election day and she saw John and another woman go into another room. And she just wrote a song about how she felt about at that time. And it's a really good song. The On That comes from approximately Infinite Universe is good, like Season of Glass. So I think she's underrated. As far as any other, I don't know if I have any other hot takes. I guess I can talk about a couple of the other, I don't think it's too much of a hot take. I think people would know that the music that you get into up until you're probably like 23 is the stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah, I agree.
And just building upon that, I've been trying to figure out what got me into music. I mean, I always pinpointed to me, okay, 2000, the Beatles, rented Yellow Submarine, saw a bunch of episodes of The Muppet Show, and then found out that all the songs were all by them. And then that's when I got hooked. But I mean, even before then, I always liked music. And I think one of the things that I personally love to come back to as far as with music that I think should be taken a little, I don't know if this is too much of a hot take, and it's also speaking to the decade I was born in, but I really do like the music that was written for Power Rangers.
Okay.
From Ron Wasserman. I think the music that he wrote for specifically Mighty Morphin, he did a couple of songs, but he didn't just do, I mean, he did the theme that everybody knows, but they were like songs that were played like in combat scenes. And I like to think that, I mean, I think it's that, my dad's love for Broadway, watching any Sesame Street or kids songs, videos, or anything old school, anything that had music in it, and just any music programs I'm in. I think that was like the basis of like what I came to know as music. And I think it came in later into play into the bands I got into. So I think the songs from Power Rangers, I think would all categorize as at least hard rock and heavy metal. And I mean, I think the music is really good there. And I think that there's some pretty heavy riffs there. So I think that people should just look at as far back as they can remember about music and just think what got them into music, and just I'm trying to pinpoint think how I got into things. So I guess, I mean, that's really the only real hot take I think of is Yoko Ono. But anything else here's another one. I don't think these new remasters that keep coming out, I don't think they're all great.
Okay.
Some of them are not done correctly.
Okay.
I think some of them are, it's a thing known as the loudness war, where things are mixed up too high. I think it's gotten a little bit better over the years, but I think when something's new and remastered, I mean, just check and look in what was the last time it was remastered, because there may not be too much of a difference.
Do you have a specific example of that?
Well, I mean, I think the go-to example for this is I mean, this is from the 90s here, but I think if I want to tell somebody about the loudness war, just listen to Iggy Pop and the Stooges' Raw Power.
Okay.
That album, the original mix was it was produced by David Bowie, and it was pretty tame when it came out on vinyl. There were several theories as to why that was. It may have gotten mixed in with like all the classical music, or they didn't master it correctly. But Bowie produced the album, and when it came out on CD in the late '80s, it wasn't. Nobody thought it sounded too good. So, come 1997, they asked Iggy he would want to be a part of remixing the album, and they were going to do it whether he was going to take part or not. So Iggy went in and did it, and it is one of the his remix of Raw Power is incredibly loud. And for a while was the only way to get the album.
Okay.
But now I think since 2010, the original mix of Raw Power is now available. So I think if you want to have the go-to example of like, okay, this is not how. I mean, with Iggy's, some people do prefer the Iggy mix. Okay. I think both of them are required listening. But just so you can hear that was what he wanted the album to sound like. But I mean, when you come to think of how many bands were influenced by listening to that album, they all heard the Bowie mix. So, but I mean, that's like my go-to example of like to see. Okay, not that Iggy's was poor. I mean, that was his vision of the album. And I think I heard him say a couple years ago that he does now prefer the Bowie mix over the remix that he did.
Okay.
But if you listen to if you want to go a go-to example for like terrible CD mastering, just listen to, I mean, in that case, it's a remix, but if you just go, another one is the Stones. Listening to the 1994 CD issue sounds great. The 2010 reissue, too loud.
Okay.
I think it's just like they just mix it. I mean, there's some people who are doing it correctly, and then some people who are not.
They mix it for people who have been going to concerts for too long.
Or it's just it's now the norm for like even newer material now that everything that's, I mean, I know this now because I look at audio samples. I mean, I look at audio waves when I put together the Albums Uncovered show. When I do the thing I do at the end of the month, recently purchased. I think that I see that whenever it's a new release, like when I did the last one, September, and I knew that the first thing I was going to talk about was the new Iron Maiden album. And okay, how much am I going to have to decrease the volume by this one by? And it's just like all the levels. And like, there's a thing in Audacity where you can look at like if there's any clipping in it.
Yes.
It can be marked by red. You're looking at the Iron Maiden songs from that album, all on the red. Jesus. And it's like, okay, let's knock this down by like 8 decibels. It's just like, it's now carried on to the point where nobody knows what a good album sounds like. I mean, it may be different for the vinyl, but I mean, there might be some people that are in agreement with me, or there might be people who just want to get the most recent thing that's been released, but just because it's the most recent thing, I mean, it doesn't mean it's the best sounding version of it.
For sure.
So I think that's another thing. I'll try and think of another topic here. I think that, I mean, I could just say in general, I think there are bands that are underappreciated.
I think that's not much of a hot take, though.
No, it's not much of a hot take. No, but I think those are I think those are like probably the two with that I can think of, Yoko, and as far as with new CD masters, I think another hot take is like, don't be embarrassed of like any of the music that you like. Just like take it all in, and just I mean, I'm now looking at I'm seeing I have a couple soundtracks here for like Godspell, a couple cast recordings. One of them like because of my dad. I mean, I just like music. I mean, don't be afraid of like admitting that you like a song. Like I know in terms of rock music, it may not be very cool to be listening to also be having on there, the cast recordings for Godspell or Pippin or anything else. I just like what you like.
Well, yeah, and that goes for books or movies as well.
Yeah.
And actually, you mentioned writing for Pop Culture Beast. Do you focus on music, or do you write about movies as well?
Yeah, it's mostly music. I did review that aforementioned Sarno movie for them. I mean, I may do a movie. I can't remember the last time I did a movie review. But even if it is a movie review, it's usually music related.
Okay.
But I mean, I think the last time I did that was for the Blu-ray release of Harry Nilsson's The Point, which was a good release. But I don't think it was meant to be in Blu-ray because I looked at the DVD for reference, and I'm looking at the DVD and the Blu-ray. I'm thinking the DVD has more color.
Oh, okay.
I think they stretched. You got to think they made it for like early 70s for a telecast, and it's just maybe it wasn't meant for 1080p.
Yeah.
So
True.
I don't know, but it was a good. I mean, there's good extras on it, but I did review that, and yeah, it is mostly music. I mean, aside from that, I did for a couple of years. I did recap Australian Survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that can lead into how I got into Rock Solid because it still amazes me as to how one thing led to another, and the reason why I decided to recap Australian Survivor is because it just brings it back to what got me to the job, being a pop culture beast. I didn't recap this last season. It's just it's very difficult to do that because it's I mean, I try to make it as easy as possible. I mean, with Australian Survivor, they air like 2 or 3 episodes a week. So I just review them by week and I have different sections, and that's how I would do it, but just still a lot of work. And I mean, I was asked by one of the editors there, just, you should recap Survivor. And I'm thinking, when they told me that I should recap Survivor, because they were a fan as well, I'm thinking, I'm not too crazy about the current US version right now. So how about if I talk about the Australian version, which I think is much better? So, I mean, that was fun, but, I mean, it's very time consuming. And then considering that, I mean, I get more reads on, the music stuff than I do.
Okay.
With that, but I'm open to writing about anything pop culture related. But yeah, for the most part, it is for music.
Okay. So, movies. I have 2 movies in mind right now. The first one is not out in the US. I think Dune. It's not out yet, right? I think it's only out here on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to be seeing it on Thursday. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm interested in seeing that because one of my favorite filmmakers is Alejandro Jodorowsky, who was supposed to do the original movie, which there is a documentary on. Very good documentary.
Yeah, it's an excellent documentary. Mm-hmm. I saw it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I love Alejandro. I mean, I have a thing for the Midnight Movie, and I first watched El Topo when I was in my sophomore year at King's, and I was just amazed by it. And I watched The Holy Mountain. That one took a couple watches to get into, but one of the wait, I know we're doing this for video. Wait, let me show you one of the things. This is one of the best things I got to review.
Okay.
This was a score for me. It worked so. This came out last year.
Oh, nice.
It's from ABCO, who are associated with the Stones. They have Jodorowsky stuff. So they're all new Blu-ray releases of, this is like a $70, $80 thing that I got to review for free.
Yeah. Okay. So can you please describe to the listeners what you're holding right now?
This is actually a good story here.
Please.
I had been interested in what I have here, and what I'm showing here is this came out last year. It's a box set of Alejandro Jodorowsky movies that got new transfers. They're Blu-ray transfers of his movies: Fondue y Les, El Topo, The Holy Mountain, and then his new movie Psycho Magic, which is a documentary. Mm-hmm. And it's just all 4 of those movies. They couldn't put all of his movies in there because I guess some people own the rights to other movies like Santa Sangre, whatever. But these are the 4 that, at least, I mean, ABCO has a couple more of them. The reason why he's with ABCO, who are associated with the Rolling Stones, is because John Lennon saw El Topo and he liked it, and he transferred him to his management, who was the business manager for the Beatles towards the end of their career, Alan Klein.
Okay.
And Alan Klein helped him finance The Holy Mountain. And then, there's a reoccurring thing with Alan Klein. He has a falling out with his clients, and then at some point he still finds a way of owning them, owning a piece of their stuff at some point. With the Stones, he owns he has everything. I mean, he's no longer alive, but everything that comes out in America of the Stones, of that whenever they started up until maybe Get Your Yayas Out, it all comes out from ABCO. They have no control over that. And it's all because, and Mick Jagger was the one who suggested John Lennon check out Alan Klein. And in the case of Alejandro Jodorowsky, I think El Topo and The Holy Mountain were like lost for years, and they weren't able to get releases. And finally in 2007, I think Alan Klein's son got to talk to Jodorowsky, and they released the movies on DVD. And then so these are re-releases of the movies. I mean, they're new transfers. The first time they came out on DVD was in 2007, but then they were re-released on Blu-ray, new transfers in 2020. I went ahead by trying to get this by contacting Abco's, some of their emails, and they would not budge. They wouldn't get back to me. And I've always been going to Pat Francis about these things. Like I'm asking him, how do you get to, ask things, and saying, just keep emailing them, thinking, well, I'm not getting anything. So it came to me, I'm going to go on LinkedIn and find the PR person. And I found the person, and I sent a message on LinkedIn, and I said, hello, my name is Aaron. Could I review possibly, at that point I asked them, could I review the new movie Psycho Magic and then the box set possibly? She said, yeah, we can get you to review the movie. I'm going to transfer you over to these people. They'll give you a link to the movie. I watched the new movie. I reviewed it. Now, as for the box set, she said that was going to be tricky. There was no guarantee that I was going to get it. And I went, all right. And then about a week before it came, or a week or two before it came out, they said, we're sorry to say that you're not going to be getting it. All right. And I was not happy with it. I'm just thinking like, this is rejection. All right. Just, you got to handle it. I mean, they said, they also asked, could you still promote it? I mean, I went on Amazon and went ahead and ordered it anyway, even though I wasn't too happy about spending the $70 whatever for it. I went, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and, I just said whatever. I just said, well, regardless of what happens, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. And I think that was the best I could leave it there. Now, one day I find out.
So wait, I just want to make sure that I'm
okay.
Understanding this properly. They said that they wouldn't send you a box set, but they still asked you to review it.
They asked me if I could still promote it, which I was thinking, I was
that's kind of shitty, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was polite about it and just said, no, I'm going to buy my own copy. And then I'll go. I said, I'll think about pre-ordering it. And I was just very polite about it. So, I went ahead. So it was like a week or so later at Goodwill. There was like a lot of like 9 Rolling Stones albums that I put up, and they sold for like, I hear from the co-manager, oh, Aaron, good job on that Rolling Stones lot. Thinking, okay, how much did they sell for? I thought they would go for like $60 or something. I check how much they went for. They went for like at least like some $500.
Jesus.
And I'm like, wow, or like close to 500. And I went just like, how did that, there wasn't any, I'm like looking at all the albums. I'm thinking, well, there's a 60s album in there. There's 12 by 5 in there, but like everything else is kind of common. Like, how did that happen? It just, my manager just said, well, that's just what happens. It just gets to where people just go back and forth on these things. I went, wow. And then I remember getting back home and then looking on my phone, and I got an email that told me, okay, we're shipping you those Blu-rays. I'm like, okay, with the bait and switch again. You had to tell me you weren't going to give me them, and now you're telling me they're going to be coming on Thursday. It was a Tuesday that week. So I went, all right, yeah, okay. Then they gave me packing. They gave me the packing, the shipping number. They went, okay, here's the tracking number, and here are the screeners. Don't share these links with anybody else. Okay, well, you told me that you weren't going to give me the, okay, I'll take it. And then this is the last thing I found out that day. I found out that somebody from King's, the person that was the boss of my internship over at King's, Nate Ward, I was with him for the diversity, because I had to have because of my GPA, I had to be on campus for my internship. So I was in the activities office, and I helped him out with the diversity office. And and I did a couple things for the support person, Miss Yek, who I was already have as my academic advisor for the special ed. And they set a thing for me to accommodate or try to fill in because nobody does that in their senior sem at the same time. So they try to accommodate me for that. Well, I found out that day that Nate had passed away. And I know that he had been sick for a while. I don't want to get into specifics or what I may think, but I just read and I just saw a bunch of other Facebook messages that he passed. To my mom, oh, sad news, Nate passed. And then I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. The Stones album, I found out that Nate passed like in the early evening, like at like 3 a.m. or something. And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute here. The Stones album sold after that. And I got this Jodorowsky box set around the same time. And knowing that there's a connection between them and they have a connection with Abco. I don't know what you want to believe in, but maybe Nate was saying, maybe Nate was saying hello or something. So
yeah,
it's just like one of the like craziest. It's unfortunate that I had to find them out in that order, but no, I just thought, wow, that those two things happened. And yeah, I
Yeah,
reviewed
true.
this. It's a good set. I think it's now gone down in price, but I think right after I was done reviewing it, I think it sold out because. But now I think I think they just released them individually now. So
That's, sometimes things happen in strange ways. But the other movie I wanted to ask you about, and I think you mentioned it on Facebook a couple of days ago, was the latest James Bond, No Time to Die.
yeah, I saw it.
You saw it. What did you think?
I think it's good. I mean, my opinions on it are I mean, I do think it's a good movie, but
Is it a hot take? Hot take coming up?
I mean, some of the things that happened in the movie, I've been hearing other reviewers talk about it, and I mean, even going into the movie, I was a bit scared of things that were going to happen in the movie.
Did you read about spoilers beforehand, or did you go completely blind?
No, but the only thing that was speculated heavily, because it's happening almost with every other movie franchise now, is that, lack of a better term, they're now all the big movies now are going woke, and that there's a big emphasis on having strong female characters and basically just leaving the I guess with the male leads kind of on the back burner of some sort. I mean, they did it with Star Wars with Han,
True.
and Luke, and Mark Hamill. Bless him. I mean, the guy was so he seems like such a polite person, and he was trying to cryptically warn people about The Last Jedi, just saying,
Yes.
I'm not even the lead character in this movie. And then Kathleen Kennedy had to back that up. Let me just correct that. He is so a part of this movie. It's just like the corporateness of it. Like they're now giving it like, it's like all these big movie franchises that they now need to appeal to like everybody who's all, they feel like they have to make it for every woman or person of color or
They
whatever.
have to cover all the bases and not offend anyone.
And it comes off as desperate. It comes off as forced. And if you disagree with it, then you're called an historianism. And it's been going on like this for a couple of years now. But it was speculated just from the trailers alone and from some of the plot details that were coming out about it that Bond is going to go woke. I watched the movie. I think it's fine. It's a good movie. I think I could see there were some parts, but I heard that there were a lot of reshoots.
Okay. I don't remember noticing, this is such, woke BS. I don't remember thinking that during the movie, so I guess that's good.
Well, I mean, there were a couple of the scenes where, I feel sorry for her, whoever the actress is that's playing Nomi or the new 007.
Moneypenny?
No, not her.
The other 007?
Yeah, her.
Lashana White? Is that Lynch? Lashana Lynch or something?
Yeah, I think that's her, yeah.
Okay.
She's fine, but but she's really, there were some scenes that it really comes across that when they were going with the guy who helped create the whatever it was, and they're like, 1 minute he's got him and then she's got him, and like she just comes swooping in from down below and takes him, and just like moments like that would make me go, oh jeez. And then once he had him, and then there were a couple scenes where he had to go back and like he would have the upper hand on her. But I think there was like one scene that did show up in the trailer where he's like walking on the road and then she pulls up on the car and says, need a lift.
Yes.
So like people were getting really scared about it. And I don't know if we want to go into spoiler territory here.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so spoiler warning.
Yeah. Yeah, the ending, I can get people who don't like it because Bond is supposed to be escapism.
True.
But I think but there's two things about it. I think in the tense of that, as far as with Daniel Craig's Bond, I think it is, since he was there was emotional side and all the movies were connected. I think that, I would have rather seen him walk off into the sunset, but I heard other reviewers say, well, they already did that with Spectre, so they couldn't do that again. So I guess that was like the only thing that they could think of, or that.
maybe Craig wanted to be 100% sure that there was no way he would be coming back.
That
as
is
Bond.
possible. He did. I did notice during the credits, I saw executive producers Daniel Craig.
Okay.
Thinking, oh, geez, I wonder how he got that. I don't think any other Bond actor has gotten that much.
Possible, yeah.
But I mean, in terms of his, I mean, it is upsetting, but I think that goes to show how emotional the movies were. I mean, it wasn't the most consistent batch of movies, which I'm thinking for the next, when they do the next Bond movies, I'm always, for all the Bond movies I've seen in theaters, I've always stayed until the end to see the James Bond will return
yes.
thing. But I think if they do the next ones, I think they shouldn't be doing them as a series again because it's pretty messy. It was met with mixed results with these last Daniel Craig movies. But then on the other hand, there are people who, one reviewer just said, all right, so James Bond is dead. Felix is dead. Spectre is all dead. So we're all talking about dead guys. Blofeld's dead. No woman is dead. I'm just thinking, yeah.
M died in Skyfall, but
that is true.
Other than that, that's true pretty much.
I think.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it just goes to, I think it's like some of these movie franchise, I think they're getting a little too serious. I mean, it worked with Bond for a while. I think they got the show like a more emotional side to him, showing his origins. I mean, especially with Casino Royale. But I mean, I'm seeing that the movie's now it's underperforming here over in North America because it's speculated that some people did read the spoilers and they knew that what was happening ending.
Yeah, okay, that's possible.
But I think, and now I'm a little bit scared that they're going to lean towards picking a female Bond, which I think they already said they weren't going to do. But it's either going to be a woman or a person of color, I think.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, it's kind of you have to, I guess people have to realize that the source material was written in the, 40s and 50s. And that was another time. And to what extent can you afford to change the source material until it becomes something else, And, and I guess that's another topic entirely, but I think I like the movie as well. And, I think what annoyed me, well, not annoyed me, but bothered me maybe, is two things actually. The villain's fortress at the end. We saw that in many old Bond movies, and I really didn't like it in No Time to Die. Like once they arrived to the island, I think the movie took a nosedive, if you ask me. I know it was referenced to like You Only Live Twice and all that stuff, but it didn't click with me. And the other thing is, I guess they kind of had to do that, but I don't think kids belong in Bond movies, I don't know if that's a hot take, but I mean, the kid was fine, and
fine actress, but
but like it felt super weird, That's not what I don't know. Maybe I should get on with the times or something, but that's not what James Bond is about. You mentioned escapism, that's
a lot of reviews against No Time to Die are now going with that claim that it is in the first 20 movies. It's all been that. I mean, he saves the day and he ends up with the girl.
Yes,
and I mean it's cliched, but I mean that's the reason why people go to see James Bond movies. But
he doesn't hook up with any of the girls in this movie.
Actually, I didn't realize that.
That's worth mentioning. The same thing happened in the Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, I remember.
No, I mean, he does hook up with Gemma Atherton, I think her name is, but he doesn't hook up with Olya Kurylenko, in Quantum.
Right.
I think the Bond movies really suffered from the Jason Bourne movies and the Mission Impossible franchise.
I think they try their best to be like those movies. I'm hearing other people say.
Well, yeah, you want to be your own thing, but you see what the others do, and that's super successful. So you want to, copy them, but not too much, So yeah, I'm really curious to see what the next Bond movie will be about. I wouldn't mind a person of color. Wouldn't mind at all.
No, I wouldn't mind them either. But
just give us a good movie and cut down on the PC horse shit.
I think,
You know?
yeah, I think because of I think these numbers that are coming in from North America right now, there might be a little bit of change. And I think I heard that they have to, because of all the reshoots, I think they have to make like some crazy amount, like 900 million for the
Oh,
movie.
okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
I think it's some insane amount because of the reshoots. I think
Jesus.
because of the reshoots, because some of this, there was one rumor about one scene that somebody was going on about. There was supposed to be the original script, a female character I can't believe I'm disposing of a tampon.
Oh, really?
And I guess that
Okay.
didn't make the cut. I guess
I wonder why.
so. I think that I'm hearing that behind the scenes that I think it was pretty bad to begin with. So they try to tone down on some of the stuff. And if it was as bad as they were saying it was going to be, that it was going to be the director also got a bit, was given some weird quotes, like saying that Sean Connery's Bond was basically a rapist in the early movies, and just like,
well, again, those movies are, almost 60 years old. So,
man, next year's the 60th. So I don't know if they have any big plans or anything.
well, it links to what I mentioned before. Like the source material is so old and from another era that, yeah, I like. Okay, maybe I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but like today's Playboy is tomorrow's rapist or something,
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
yesterday's Playboy or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really don't know. And it's been mentioned as well that for a James Bond reboot, that somebody suggested that they might reboot it to the 60s. Then again, someone mentioned the movie The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That was an okay movie, but it flopped. So maybe that's not going to happen because of that. I don't know. But like, the people who you talked to, did they like the movie in general?
I mean, the people I talked to about the movie, I really haven't talked to anybody about. I've just watched YouTube videos. I mean,
okay, so I'm going to rephrase it. The people whose opinion you trust, did they like the movie?
I think overall, I mean, some of them liked the movie, and then there were others that didn't really care for it. And that the people that do this thing and trying to dissect, there's some people who just straight up don't like it. Some of the YouTube people that are really trying to call out the studios on all the virtue signaling and whatever's happening in the movies. I mean, I was surprised to hear somebody, I think it was a YouTube user called the Critical Drinker, or
Yes, yeah.
and he just said, "Well, is it any good? Well, yes and no." And I was surprised to hear that there's something. And I was seeing the ratings on IMDb. I mean, that's a pretty good score. So, but yeah, I do think it's a good movie. But I think in the future, I think they should stay away from having them all connect, unless they have the story right on the. If they have a story laid out for a few movies,
A full arc over a few movies.
yes, and then we see that when clearly these were all written within over a span of 15 years.
Yeah, that's another factor. Yeah, I guess maybe. I mean, I haven't watched the review from the Critical Drinker, but I do know about him and I enjoy his reviews. I guess in Bond's case, they wanted to please everyone, and at the end of the day, it's like a lukewarm result, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, okay, we can end part one here. But are you good for some quick and quickie questions?
Sure.
All right, so let's do that in part two.
Or do we want to get to the story about how I got connected to Rock Solid?
Okay.
Or the job? I think it's like the last thing to talk about there.
Okay.